here we have Plative Paws Dog Rescue. You can see there's all these dogs waiting to be loved and to be taken care of while they find their forever home. And down in the corner, we have the button for connecting to an agent. So Robert can hit that agent button, and the Plative Paws agent is going to join, and the Plative Paws agent can be called whatever you like, and it can greet however you like. And all of that programming is done in plain language. So there's no code or anything required here in order to get it to sound and look and feel like you'd like it to, based on your brand and what your nonprofit unique identity is. So how can I help you? Well, I'm interested in fostering a dog. Makes sense. And so the agent is going to say, all right, so what's the first thing that I need to do? I need to see if I can identify who this potential applicant is. Do we know who they are? Or is that going to be a new person to us? Agent response says, great, I'd love to help you find a dog to foster. And it wants to know our email address. So we haven't identified ourselves yet. So we can say, I'm Robert, and my email is. All right. And so now what it's going to be doing is within Salesforce, it's going to be looking to see, do we know anybody with this email address? And if not, it's going to go ahead and create an account for them so we can continue to track our interactions with them. So it says, thanks, Robert. Great. We'd like to know what you're looking for in fostering. So a few different parameters are suggested here. And again, we can make this whatever you'd like to for your workflow. I'm going to go ahead and copy some text into here based on Robert's preferences. He says, I'm eager to foster a medium-sized dog. I'm in Queens, New York. And since I don't have a car, I'm looking to find a pet within 10 miles. A dog between 3 and 5 years old, weighing between 40 to 60 pounds, who's playful, loves the outdoors, but also gentle, right? Can you help me find a match? So lots of different preferences here. And one of the great advantages of Agentforce versus a hard-coded bot is that it has the ability to think kind of outside of the box and to do some sort of fuzzy matching with these parameters. So it doesn't necessarily need to meet all of these parameters, but it's going to comb our database and think, all right, what are some possible options for pets that meet some of these needs here or meet some of these preferences? Amazing. So it's gone ahead and looked at the database and said, based on your preferences, we've got 3 dogs that you could consider here. Bailey, who's a bulldog, 5 years old, medium size, male dog, white brindle coat, 50 pounds, in Syracuse, and a little description about the animal as well. So why did they think this would be a potential fit? So it's given us 3 different options. My eyes are immediately drawn to Scout, who's an Aussie Shepherd. I have my Aussie Shepherd sitting right below me here. And I'm a big fan of the breed. So this seems like a good fit right in the center of our kind of weight restrictions. And we know that the Aussie Shepherds are an energetic breed. It finally summarizes with a bit of plain text again about why those 3 dogs were surfaced here. And it says, consider meeting one of these. Well, I'm really interested in Scout. And we could type in number 3. We could do whatever to indicate that Scout might be the right pet that we're interested in. Awesome. So now the agent is beginning to create an application on the back end and is capturing the details that we've put in so far. So what it wants to know is a few other things to determine suitability and to begin making that application. So it says even there, it's going to start to create an application on our behalf. So Robert says, I can foster for up to 6 months. I want to foster because I love dogs and want to help as many as possible, which is a really common reason why people get involved in dog fostering. I also want a companion for emotional support and as a jogging companion, as I'm quite active. And I have lots of experience with pets as I used to foster dogs for many years. Okay, cool. Let's give the agent that information and see what happens next. Look at that. Cool. So actually, it's created an application for us. It's given us an application number, which I'm going to go ahead and copy here, and says what we're doing now. So the next couple of days, we're going to be reviewing the application. And if it makes sense, we'll arrange for a meeting. And it thanks Robert for his interest in potentially being a foster here. Super cool. So Robert's got a meeting coming up, so he's going to go ahead and end the conversation now. And he's going to close this out so that he can get on with his day. We're going to go back into Salesforce now and have a look at what it's like when she logs on for the day. So when she jumps on to start work, she's going to go into Service Console and see all of the different pet applications. So we've been testing this for a little while of different parameters. So you can see there's lots of applications in here, but she notices, oh, cool, a new application came in this morning. And I'm going to go ahead and have a look and see some of the details here. So when she opens up the pet application, she can see a lot of the stuff that Robert punched in has made its way into these custom fields that we have on the pet application record. So At first glance, she says, okay, yeah, some of this looks good. Yeah, the time commitment works. So overall, yeah, I like the look of this potential applicant. I'm going to go ahead and kick this status into pending documentation and I'm going to save it. And then she can go back and do the same thing with all of her other applications here. We're going to go back to Robert's experience. So fast forward a day or two, and Robert remembers, oh, yeah, I put in my application for fostering a dog. I wonder where that's at. If he's a little bit like me, which of course I designed this, he is not very good at checking his personal email, very good at checking his work email, but he obviously put his info in as a personal applicant. So he's curious, like, what's the status of my application? So he's going to pop open the agent, and here's the agent again, ready to help. And he says, all right, I'm inquiring about the status of my pet foster application. Simple as that. The agent comes back and says, hey, we can help you for sure. Just give me your application number. And if he didn't have it, he could punch in his email as well, and it would be able to find the case that way. So I have the application number. I wrote it down. So I'm going to put that in. And the agent's going to go back and see, all right, let's look at Salesforce. Where is the status of this right now? So it says it's currently pending documentation. Oh, this is interesting to me. I wonder what documentation that they're looking for. So I can actually ask that question. What documentation is outstanding? And if I check my email, it would be all in the email as well. But in this case, I haven't looked at it. So I can just ask the agent to tell me, what do I need to be doing in order to move this along? And here we go. So the application is currently pending additional documentation. We need a few different items to continue with the review, some references, a rental agreement to make sure it's okay for pets to be on the premises there, and employment verification to make sure that they have the means to look after the pet while they're in their custody. And it says, okay, so once we receive those documents, we continue with the evaluation of your application. And one of the cool things that we could be doing with this as well is we could actually be using the agent as a way to grab this documentation as well and to pop it into SharePoint or Box.com or Google Drive or whatever your organization uses. We could be sending it in this way. The sky's really the limit. It could also be living in another system altogether, in which case we'd be able to pull that information in with Data Cloud or with MuleSoft. But anyway, Robert now has the idea what he needs to be working on in order to go further with his application. So we're going to go ahead and end the conversation here. We're going to go back to Cassidy's experience here, and let's fast forward a little bit and say Robert has submitted a bunch of his applications. We can have that visible here on the record. So, here's his landlord letter, here's his references, you name it. And again, we could be tying that in from multiple outside systems if we like. Basically, Cassidy looks at this and says, hey, I really like the look of this application. I think we should elevate this to our senior leadership and take it over to the next step, which is to introduce the pet, assuming that our leaders are on board. Our leaders are going to end up looking at a whole bunch of different applications. I don't have the time as Cassidy to type in a whole bunch of information and kind of like make the case for this particular foster. So what we can actually do is use the AI functions to generate a pet application summary. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull in all of the different details about Robert, including scraping through his letters and other things like that. And it's going to create a 4-paragraph summary, basically, about why we think that this is potentially a good application that we should proceed with, right? A couple of sentences about the applicant himself, some considerations. We actually also came up with the idea of a compatibility score, which is super cool. It kind of matches the pets parameters with the applicants and says, hey, we think this is a good match and why. So if we hit finish, that's going to append it to the record. And we can also submit this now for approval to the leaders to say yes or no to the application or come up with any other steps here. Another really cool time-saving element that we've included is because obviously Cassidy's working through a ton of different applications, she's going to want to be able to send her yes email directly from the record rather than going and jumping over into Gmail or wherever to send it off. So she's going to click this email button. So Robert is right here. We can leave the subject line blank because Einstein's going to take care of that for us. What we can actually do is when we click draft an email with Einstein, we can go down and say, let's use pre-made instructions. And again, all of this is in the service of making Cassidy more efficient so that she can work through more of these applications and get dogs matched to their foster parents as quickly as possible, right? With the minimum amount of friction and the best experience for the applicant. So we can double check that we have the right record in there to generate this from. We're going to hit continue. And Einstein's going to do its thing, right? It's going to pull in the important details about the decision, and it's going to go ahead and write this for us with just a couple of clicks. Amazing. So it would pull in his name here and say, congrats on your approval, and talk about the pet that's involved just to make sure we're all on the same page. And then we can actually just go ahead and send this directly from Salesforce. And so again, you can see the different ways that this is completely deflected any kind of like phone calls or other things like that, so that the application moves along quickly, and it allows Cassidy to do a lot more with her day in service of the need and the mission of the foster.